This is an On the Ice and Behind the Benches podcast on the Sports for Beginners podcast feed.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to Cincinnati Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. Cincinnati Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Blue Jays, Cincinnati. Boy, another wild one? I don't know. Lights up, let's go. It's game 2 of a 3-game series between the Blue Jays and the Cincinnati Reds. Let's go. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Well. The Cincinnati Reds walk off the Blue Jays in game 1 of this 3-game series, 5-4, in a 3-run 9th inning battle. And if you thought yesterday's competition was fun, Terry Francona and John Schneider, the managers of the Cincinnati Reds and the Toronto Blue Jays, will line up their pitching matchups with José Berríos indeed going on the hill for the Toronto Blue Jays in game number 2 of this series. However, Nick L. would be scratched into this ball game as he was scheduled to get the first start against the Blue Jays in tonight's competition, game 2 of the 3-game series. However, he would end up getting scratched. So who else do you bring in but Scott Barlow, who, coming into this game, faces a José Berríos, and for him, he comes into Cincinnati's match against the Blue Jays with a 6-2 record. He's hoping to build that to a 7-2 record with a win for Cincinnati, taking not only the series against the Blue Jays 2 out of 3, but also having a chance to clear the series tomorrow night in Cincinnati with a win. We will break down the game in just moments from now. But before we can get to how him and José Berríos did in their outing, let's figure out who's catching both him and José Berríos behind the plate with our defensive alignment as Terry Francona and John Schneider line up game 2 like this. For the Blue Jays, the lineup is a little bit different than game 1. You've got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at second base. He is back into the fold. If you missed our conversation about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa returning, or IKF in short form, he returned not just to play game 1 of Cincinnati against the Blue Jays, as the Blue Jays reunite with him in Cincinnati, but news broke that on the Sunday they finished the series with the Milwaukee Brewers. It was a 9:30 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. 5-hour drive from where he currently was with the Pittsburgh Pirates all the way to Toronto, and then of course into Cincinnati to join the Blue Jays for game 1 of this 3-game series. Talk about a committed guy. Welcome back, Isaiah. Andres Jimenez remains in the game to play second base. He will come in as your second baseman. Davis Schneider comes in as your left fielder. Dalton Varsho in at center field. And Nathan Lukes in at right field. I believe if we look here at the lineup card here, Nathan Lukes was in. He would later be pinch hit for by Miles Straw. A little bit later, note on Miles Straw. If there is time, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would go to first base. Your catcher would be Alejandro Kirk catching José Berríos for the Blue Jays. We would see our designated hitter, George Springer, also bat with the shortstop being Bo Bichette, and he would be the third baseman, with Andres at second, Vladdy at first, Bo at short, and yes, Kirky in catcher. Meanwhile, how did we do the Blue Jays lineup for Terry Falcona or Terry Francona? Yeah, Terry Francona. How did we do? Well, in this game, not a lot changed. Some things changed. Not a lot changed, but some things changed. We have in at catcher, I believe the catcher is Jose Trevino catching Scott Barlow. Mac McLean is in at second base. Ke'Bryan Hayes is at third base. So Gavin Lux is designated hitter for this one. Sal Stewart is back at first base. I hope I'm saying that right. I'll just go with De La Cruz. Remains in the game to play shortstop. Austin Hayes remains in the game to play left field. In right field with Austin Hayes. And of course, our center fielder in TJ is N. Marte. N. Marte will get the start at right field. So 29, 16, and 12 in left field, right field, and center field. For the Blue Jays opponent, Cincinnati Reds. For the Blue Jays, it is in right field 38, in right field, center fielder is number 5, and of course, Davis Schneider, 36, is in left field. All right. Time now for our first break here on Blue Jays Game Recap. We'll dive into the game on the way next. But before we take the break, here's a look at the line score in what was sure to be on the other side. We'll talk about it, but it was sure to be another wild one to look at. A classic, if you will, in wild card terms. For the Blue Jays, 12 runs, 12 hits, 1 error. Their second error of this series. For the Reds, 9 runs, 15 hits, no errors. They have not committed a single error in this ball game. Winning pitcher is Louis Varland. His record for Scott Barlow, his record 6-3. So he did lose this game. And Jeff Hoffman, the record for him, of course, if we look at his record, that's just his 30th save of the season. His record, since he didn't have a win or the loss in this game, 8-6. So his record remains right where it is, and the Blue Jays come out to beat the Cincinnati Reds, even the series at 1-2 apiece, with the 30th save for Jeff Hoffman. All right. Still tons more to get to here on Blue Jays Game Recap, including Game Tree's pitching matchup and setting you up for what will be a great series finale. We'll dive into that some later in the show. For now, we'll be right back with more Blue Jays Game Recap. The game breakdown of game number 2 in this 3-game series is next. Stay with us.
Cincinnati Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Cincinnati Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Cincinnati Radio.
Thank you for joining us today for your weekly dose of sports content. If you have any questions or thoughts on this show that you'd like to let our host know about, simply send us a voice message on Anchor and let us know what you think we can improve on to help us out on the show. And remember that it is not goodbye, it is until next time. See you Wednesday.
Bills are happening now. They're making it happen now. You've got the spirit, a lot of spirit, yeah. You've got the spirit. Just watch it happen now. Hey, 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 hey. Let's go Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. The Bills make me wanna.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
All right, everybody, welcome back into Blue Jays game recap. I am, of course, your host of the program, Thomas McGregor. Please call me Thomas. What an interesting ball game we have for you in this one. First of all, you have game one of this series, which was an afternoon game in which the Blue Jays and the Cincinnati Reds scored not one, not two, but 3 runs in 1 inning. That inning was the 9th inning, the last inning of that ball game, in which the Reds walk it off. They win 5-4 over the Blue Jays, walk it off, and take the opener. Now, the Blue Jays end up taking a 12-9 win over the Cincinnati Reds in game 2 of this 3-game series. But how did it go from 5-4 winners, Cincinnati Reds, and 12-9 victors, Toronto Blue Jays, to 5-4 losers, Blue Jays? Well, let's break it down. Here we go with our scoring summary. Now, we've already broken down most of the game, but let's dive in to how this whole competition was played out. George Springer leads things off in a big way, scoring just his 25th home run of the season. The Blue Jays go up 1-0 on the Cincinnati Reds to get things started. It is a 1-run lead for the Blue Jays. In the inning, Blue Jays challenge a play on the field, which of course was actually challenged by Cincinnati, as Alejandro Kirk clears the bases for the Blue Jays with what was supposed to be a triple, ended up being at the end of the review just Alejandro Kirk's double. That would be his 16th double of the season, and he would be out advancing to third base. Dalton Varsho, and of course, Bo Bichette, as well as Vladimir Guerrero, would score on the plays. Ilya De La Cruz would throw out key Brian Hayes' person in Alejandro Kirk, who would try to stretch a double into a triple. After review, it will just be a double and nothing more. That'll be his 16th double of the season. But the Blue Jays are up 4-0 on the Cincinnati Reds. It's 4-0 Blue Jays over the Cincinnati Reds. Bottom first, De La Cruz singles on a ground ball into center field, and Marte will score. And Marte will cut this lead in half to a 3-run ball game for the Blue Jays, as it's now 4-1 Blue Jays over Cincinnati. Bottom first, thanks to De La Cruz's single on a ground ball, top of the 2nd inning. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at the dish, singles on a ground ball right into right field. Ed Marte to make the play. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa will score, IKF, and George Springer will go to second base. The Blue Jays have picked up their 4-run lead yet again, but this time they'll advance it to more than just 4 runs, as they'll take a 7-run lead with Bo Bichette's 15th home run of the season on a fly ball into center field. George Springer and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will score, as well as Bo. The Blue Jays lead 7 runs to Cincinnati's 1 run. It's 8-1. Oh boy, oh boy. I wonder what that means. I'll tell you what it means momentarily. Let's go to the bottom of the second. Matt McLean, he's into the ball game and doubles his 14th double of the season. That scores Jose Trevino. And again, another lead for the Blue Jays is cut, but small margins. But wait, is it small margins? They've already picked up their second run on a small play for the Cincinnati Reds, so it's 8-2, and they were down 7 runs. Now they're down 6 runs to the Blue Jays, with it being 8-1 and now 8-2. Well, welcome N. Marte to the plate, and N. Marte reaches on a throwing error by IKF. No, here it comes, Blue Jay fans. The error machine probably coming into play. Matt McLean scores, and now what was supposed to be a 7-run lead taken to a 6-run lead, and now a 5-run lead, as it's now 8-3 Blue Jays over the Cincinnati Reds, thanks to the fielding error. Not so fast, Blue Jays fans. We're going to a pair of runs as Austin Hayes. He has 12 home runs on the season already. Can he have 13 against the Blue Jays? Yes, he can. And this one's on a fly ball into left field. And Marte will score. So will De La Cruz. And so will Austin Hayes. It's a 3-run shot. And Austin Hayes not only scores himself, De La Cruz, and N. Marte, but also cuts the Blue Jays lead from 7-6 to now just 2. Just 2 runs. 8-6 Blue Jays as we approach the top of the 4th inning, or I should say, of the 4th inning. George Springer at the dish. He's homered already in this ball game. Can he do it again? He thinks so. Do we think so? Whether we think that or not, he will leave Cincinnati's yard yet again with his 25th and now 26th homer of the season on a fly ball into left center field. IKF and George Springer will score for a 2-run shot, and the Blue Jays go up 4-run lead on the Cincinnati Reds. It's now 10-6 Blue Jays over the Cincinnati Reds. 10-6. Bottom 4. Austin Hayes. He put this game into a nail biter for the Blue Jays back in the half of the 2nd inning, making it 8-6. He's going to do the exact same thing and score Cincinnati's 7th run of the season. 7th run of the game, thanks to TJF, as he makes his 15th double of the season, and what is now a 10-6 game has become a 10-7 game. Still in the inning. Gavin Lux at the dish. He singles on a ground ball into right field. Nathan Luke's on the play. Austin Hayes will score, and the Blue Jays are back to even tougher match. It is now 10-8 over Cincinnati. They are down to just a 1-run ball game. It is 10-8, which means it's down to about 2 runs before this game is tied as we approach the 6th inning, 5th inning. But let's take you to the 5th, where Dalton Varsho makes his 16-homer season go to 17-homer season on a fly ball into right center field, and the Blue Jays get 1 back. They have taken what was a pair of runs and put it back to a 3-run lead, thanks to the 17th home run of the season off the bat of Dalton Varsho. It's 11-8, Cincinnati down by 3 over the Toronto Blue Jays. Bottom 8. And here come Cincinnati yet again. DJF has 10 home runs already on the season. Can he make it 11? He thinks so. Do we? Well, yes, he can. This one into right field, and the Blue Jays lead is in shambles. It's now again a 1-1 lead for the Blue Jays. It is 11-9 in the bottom of the eighth. And so here comes the top of the ninth inning. Jose Trevino gets a pass ball. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will score on that play. Alejandro Kirk will go to second base, and the Blue Jays will take it 12-9 in a pair of runs, coming back to 3 as the Blue Jays would fight hard to keep a 3-run lead over Cincinnati for the win. It is 12-9 your final. The Blue Jays and Cincinnati Reds. Time for our team comparisons here. The Blue Jays, 12 runs, 12 hits. We know that. The Reds, 9 runs, 15 hits, 2 of them homers, and of course, 4 homers for the Blue Jays, a stolen base for the Blue Jays, an error by the Blue Jays. Of course, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa on the error. Cincinnati, no errors. They left 8 men on base. The Blue Jays left only 4 men on base. And while both teams touched base 26 times in this ball game, and scenario, Nathan Lukes did fly out when he first started the at-bat. Of course, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would walk. All right, so we got through our team comparisons, and we got through the game. Let's take a look at just some of the scores going on right now. Only a few games left on the slate tonight. We'll look at the finals if there is time, but let's keep an eye on the games that are underway right now. Tampa Bay, of course, probably have gone final, and that game, of course, has gone final. It's a 6-5 victory for the Tampa Bay Rays. The Athletics lose to the St. Louis Cardinals in small fashion. It's a 2-1 lead for the St. Louis Cardinals over the Athletics. They win that game. The Cubs outlast the Atlanta Braves 4-3 victors over the Braves. Kansas City Royals falter to the Angels 5-1. And the Nationals 5-2 victors over the Marlins. The Red Sox play football just like the Blue Jays and win the Guardians 11-7, a victory in the Red Sox. That's pretty much all the finals right now. Yankees are in the 8th inning right now against the Astros. They are 6-1. That is the score right now. It's 6-1 there in the top of the 8th at the Astrodome. In the top of the 6th right now, also we have the San Francisco Giants leading 5-2 over the Rockies. The Texas Rangers are in the top of the 4th right now. They are in the 1-run lead spot in the top of the 4th inning with 2 outs and a runner on first base. And the Baltimore Orioles, the only other AL East team in action tonight, is up 1-0 with runners on scoring position in the 3rd. And then it looks like we just saw the run score. If you are watching the game just like we are watching the game, it looks like the Yankees just tagged on their 7th run of this ball game. And it looks like it is Chaz Chisholm Jr. who has done it again. It is indeed Jazz Chisholm Jr. He is 3 for 4. That is now 4 for 5 with a home run off of the pitcher at the plate, Stephen Okier, or Stephen O. I'm going to go with Stephen O. I can't say the last name. And it is 7-1 Yankees over the Houston Astros. So still lots more games to go on. We're going to take a break. Our standings update for the American League and National League coming up when we return on Blue Jays game recap. But when we come back, we will dive into our Blue Jays and Cincinnati top performers of the game as well as the players of the game. And we'll break down some news that has been breaking out podcast-wise. before the show is up. A reminder to baseball fans that aren't really interested in Cincinnati but are tuning in on the Ice and Behind the Benches and Sports for Beginners and anywhere else we are hosting this program next season, that the New York Yankees series with the Blue Jays, speaking of the Yankees and Astros, will be the final road trip we have so far on both On the Ice and Behind the Benches and Sports for Beginners. However, when that series begins, make sure the next homestand you stay tuned on Sports for Beginners' Facebook page. The link will be provided in the description of this episode below and the following episode following the series finale against the Reds and the Blue Jays on Wednesday, because we will have an update as to whether or not we are covering the 4-game series road trip against the Tampa Bay Rays and the 3-game road trip against the Kansas City Royals on Sports for Beginners only right now. I'll reveal more details about that when we return. Stay with us.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners. Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches. It is Blue Jays game recap. Good evening to those of you listening to this in the evening, and of course, good morning to those of you listening to this in the morning. Good afternoon to those of you who are listening to this in the afternoon. Blue Jays and Cincinnati Reds will wrap up their 3-game series Wednesday. That's tomorrow, September the 3rd, 2025. At the same time opposite the game opener in which the Blue Jays fell to the Reds. If you haven't heard it already, it was a 5-4 Reds win-off over the Blue Jays as they walked off the Blue Jays in a 9th-inning thriller, which both teams scored 3 runs in the 1 inning. Link to that show will be provided in this show's description if you have not checked it out. Blue Jays outshine the Reds in the score tonight, but they find a way to also win this game. Louis Varland with the win, 4-3 the record for him. Scott Barlow with the loss. He came in for Nick O, who was supposed to pitch against José Berríos. His record coming in was 6-2. It is now 6-3 with the loss. And Jeff Hoffman, his record in saves is now 30 as he picks up with a 8-6 record, I believe, of wins and losses, his 30th save of the season. And just before the break, the Yankees, just about as we were getting ready for the first time out, scored their 7th run of the ball game against the Astros. They're in a series with the Astros right now. They'll be with the Blue Jays. I believe the series gets started on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. and the Blue Jays will be at Yankee Stadium for one last match of 3 between the New York Yankees. And speaking of the Yankees and the Blue Jays, it is somewhat interesting to note that the Mets are facing the Detroit Tigers, who coming into Cincinnati's second game as the Blue Jays after being walked off 5-4 in the opener were in second place. Detroit Tigers were in first place. And now both teams are kind of tied for first in the American League leaders. The Blue Jays are, I believe Dan said after the show was about to go off the air, that if the Blue Jays won against the the Cincinnati Reds, which they did, they would be half a game up on the Tigers if the Tigers lost. But this will still happen to be the case as a tie for first place if the Blue Jays lose tomorrow and the Tigers lose tomorrow as well. Given the record is 80 wins for both the Blue Jays and the Tigers right now, as far as standings are concerned, we'll get to the standings update in just a few moments from now. We got to get to our top performers of the game, which is coming up right now. And then our players of the game, we'll do that on the other side. We'll save them for the end of the show. But given the Tigers and the Blue Jays are 80 wins in the American League right now, if the Blue Jays were to lose, that would be their 60th loss, which means if the Tigers weren't playing tomorrow, and this was the series finale against the New York Mets, it's not the series finale against the Mets, but I believe the series finale is tomorrow as well. The Tigers and the Blue Jays will be tied at a winning streak record and losing streak record of 80 and 60. So it will be 80 and 60 for both the Toronto Blue Jays and the Detroit Tigers. That's not how baseball goes. They're both playing tomorrow, so we will see what happens from there. As mentioned, we are following the Yankees and the Astros currently underway, and they're at the top of the 9th inning. I do believe they have just finished the 8th inning. Let's get to our top performers of the game, and then we'll get into our American League standings update before we get to our National League standings update and get ready for our final break of the program for Blue Jays game recap. All right, here we go. Our top performers of this game include Austin Hayes, 2 for 5 with a homer, a double, 4 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. You have the 3 for 4 Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with a walk, RBI, 3 runs driven in, and a stolen base. That was Guerrero who got the stolen base, not George Springer. But George Springer would have 2 homer days for him, going 3 for 4 as well, with a walk, 3 RBIs, and 3 runs driven in. And speaking of George Springer, he is the Blue Jays player of the game with, as mentioned, the walk, the 3 RBIs, and the 3 runs driven in, the 2 homers on just the 1 walk. Great job by George Springer. He deserves it as a player of the game. But I think you gotta give some pitching credit, because although José Berríos was able to give the Blue Jays not a good outing, but a decent enough outing, in my opinion, you gotta give him credit where credit is due. He did strike out 2 people. That seems like a long-winded thing to say. He did give up 5 hits. He gave up the 6 runs, and of course, he did give up 2 earned runs. He walked 2 batters, gave up a home run. But if you look at it, Lauer only went 2 1/3, giving up 5 hits, 2 runs, which were earned, and he, like José Berríos, striked out only 2 batters. The only difference is he didn't walk a batter, he didn't give up a homer, and when he gave up runs, they were either singles or doubles out of the 5 hits he allowed, going 2 1/3. So yeah, is Eric Lauer deserved of that win? Yeah, of course he is. But Louis Varland was who the Blue Jays turned to for the win, and they got what they wanted. Now, Blue Jays fans, did we get a great Blue Jay game? Maybe. Did we get a wild game? Yes, we did. Did we get a Blue Jay win? Yes, we did. It was wild, but it was also a win. And a win is a win. Our American League standings update look kind of like this in our division against the Yankees, the Rays, the Orioles, and of course, the Boston Red Sox, who have finished their games and they are within Cincinnati and of course Cleveland. The Red Sox record heading into tomorrow's game will be 78-62. They'll take on the Cleveland Guardians, who are in the Detroit Tigers division and currently third place with 68-69, just 10.5 games out of the division, only 4.5 out of the wild card. So they are 4.5 games out of the wild card race at 68-69. Kansas City's only 3 games out of that wild card spot and 9 games out of Detroit Tigers division lead. Speaking of out of division leads, the Orioles in our division, Blue Jay fans, are 17.5 out of the division right now. They're 17.5 and only 11 games out of the wild card race at 62-76 right now. They are against the San Diego Padres, which I believe is just about underway. Yes, it is. They are in the bottom of the 4th right now. And the game we are watching, the Yankees and the Astros, the current record's 76-62, 76-61. The record of 76-61 is, of course, the New York Yankees. And, of course, the record for the Astros is 76-62. They are the team the Yankees are playing in the last half of the 9th inning there. Texas Rangers in action against the Diamondbacks, currently up 2-0. And Tampa Bay is live against Seattle. Their record currently is 68-69. They're against the Seattle Mariners, who are 73-65 and just 3 games out of the Houston Astros division. Just games in on the wild card race. They are basically tied for a wild card race spot. The Guardians are 4.5 out of a wild card spot. And as mentioned, the Kansas City Royals are 3 games out of the wild card race. New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox currently hold the first and second wild card spot by 4 games and 3.5. The Yankees are 3 games out of the division against the Blue Jays. Meanwhile, the Red Sox, with the win, are 2.5 out of the division at 78-62. 76-61 is the Yankees record right now. The Astros 76-62. Their division follows the 73-65 Mariners, who are 3 games out of the division, 4.5 out of the division, and just 1.5 out of the wild card. We have the Texas Rangers at 72-67. That's the record for the Texas Rangers. The record for the Angels, as they are only 8 games out of the wild card race, 11 out of the division, is 65-73. And the Athletics, try as they will. They are only 10 games out of the wild card race, but 13 games out of the division, 64-76. They are in action against St. Louis and currently done tonight's matchup on to tomorrow. So we'll see what happens there. Guardians are 4.5 out of the wild card, just 10.5 behind the Detroit Tigers, who are the division leaders. Minnesota Twins are only 16.5 out of the division right now. For the division against the Tigers, we have a race as well beside them as the Chicago White Sox. Say what you will about the White Sox, but they are coming, and they're coming in fast. 50-88, just 29 games behind the Tigers. Say what you will, but they are on a winning streak, and they are the only team with a winning streak right now. 2 wins to their name, and live against Minnesota, who is playing them. Boston is playing the Guardians. The Angels are playing the Kansas City Royals, and the Mets are playing the Detroit Tigers in that division. Tampa Bay is playing the Mariners. The Yankees are playing the Astros, and of course the Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Royals, and the St. Louis Cardinals are playing the Athletics and the LA Angels. All right, the Cincinnati Reds player of the game is coming up on the other side. We will set you up for game number 3 of the Blue Jays and the Cincinnati Reds. We will have the game for you right here on the ice and behind the benches and Sports for Beginners. As soon as the game goes final, we will recap that game for you. We will tee up that pitching matchup for Terry Francona and John Schneider of the Cincinnati Reds and the Toronto Blue Jays with the attendance record, as well as the National League wild card race standings update. But first, let's take one little look at the other games underway. If you are interested in the Baltimore Padres series, please go check it out. They are in the bottom of the 4th inning right now. It is a 3-2 Orioles lead over the San Diego Padres. Into the 6th inning we go, and the Diamondbacks are still down 2-0. The game that we are watching, and it looks like we'll be watching till the end of this ball game, is the 7-1 Yankees over the Houston Astros. No matter how that game goes, Blue Jays fans can feel either which way about it. And into the 8th inning they go. It is a 5-4 Giants lead over the Rockies. That game pretty much undecided. We'll dive back into those games if we have time, but we got to close out the show next. So the player of the game from Cincinnati, the attendance record, the National League standings update, all of that on the other side. Stay with us.
Hi, Scott. It's Ali here. I just wanted to mention that I'm really enjoying the show and I'm really enjoying what you're putting together. And I wanted to just say I'm enjoying being a part of it as well. So please keep up the phenomenal work and make sure you guys keep this podcast going because it really suits you well.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
All right, Blue Jay fans. All right, Cincinnati Red fans. Time to break out this Blue Jays game recap into the series finale, which of course is tomorrow at the same time slot opposite the opener, 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:40 p.m. Central Time, 4:40 p.m. Mountain Time, 3:40 p.m. Pacific Time, 12:40, of course. Yes, 12:40 Paris time start and an 11:40 p.m. start in London. That's an AM start in Paris. And of course, it will be an PM start in London. So we'll still be in the nighttime, getting into the midnight time frame in London for the next game. It starts on the East Coast at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time in Great American Ballpark. Both teams trying to win the season series of 3 games, 2 out of 3. Since it's even at 1 game apiece, we'll see who wins it. Blue Jays fans, we hope it's us. Cincinnati Red fans, you hope it's you. No matter how it goes, let's finish this one off. We'll have that conversation for you following the game. As mentioned before the break, George Springer is the Blue Jays player of the game with a 3-for-4 night. And I think I mentioned it, even though we weren't talking about the Cincinnati Reds player of the game, but I think I mentioned it just before we did the American League standings update. And I think I was talking about a guy by the name of Brian Hayes. No, it must have been Austin Hayes. No matter who your player of the game for Cincinnati is, my player of the game, folks, is none other than Brian Hayes, a 2-for-5 night with 4 RBIs in there. He scored 2 runs. Yes, he did strike out, but I think a 2-for-5 night is a pretty good night for Brian Hayes. Let's put in a little Austin Hayes in there while we're at it. A 2-for-5 night for him. He does not bring any RBIs in, but he does get some hits in there. And also that Ella De La Cruz and McLean double play. That was fun to see that. But if you really have to classify the players of the game, I think you can give credit to the 4 strikeouts that we saw from the pitcher that came in after Scott Barlow left the game. And that 4 strikeout person's name is Brent Suter. Brent Suter was the one who went 2 1/3 inning, allowing 5 hits, 6 runs, which was also earned. He did strike out 4, and yes, he did give up 2 home runs, but striking out 4 seems like a good thing for a player of the game. So those are my players of the game. This game got started just 2 minutes after 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time, and of course, 5:40 p.m. Central Time, and of course, 4:40 p.m. Mountain Time, and 3:40 p.m. Pacific Time, which is pretty good. It's pretty good news for that. Let's see when the next start takes place. The game is again at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be a 6:40 start for the Blue Jays on the East Coast, and of course Cincinnati Reds. You can catch the game at 5:42 p.m. Central Time, 5:40 I should say Central Time for that game. You can also see it on the Mountain Coast at 4:40 p.m. time, and then 3:40 p.m. on Pacific, 11:40 p.m. London time, 12:40 a.m. Paris time. There, I think I got it all right. The Blue Jays smash the Cincinnati Reds, but play football while they're at it. 12-9, the final score there. The winning pitcher once again is Louis Varland. The losing pitcher is Scott Barlow, and Jeff Hoffman, his 30th save of the season. Speaking of saves and wins, Shohei Ohtani. Let's get him in the mix as we get to our National League standings update to wrap up this show, as he creates news of his own. That's right. Shohei Ohtani has hit a year home run in his career. At least I believe it was his 100th career home run. So have a day, Shohei Ohtani, as they come out on a 9-7 loss to the Pirates. And that's his 100th career home run of the season, of his career, I should say. 46 on the season. Congratulations to Ohtani on that. What a great game he had played. Sorry to the Dodger fans that the Pirates had to win that game, but hey, it is what it is. Ohtani, 3 for 5 night. He gets a home run, his 100th home run as a Dodger, and his hardest hit ball ever that he's ever hit. So have a day, Ohtani. Have a day. That was some interesting updates to give you there. Speaking of updates, just a final look here at the scorecard before we get into our National League update. The Yankees just got final. They do win it. They take care of business, as well as the Cardinals take business against the Athletics. 2-1 there. And the Yankees win 7-1 over the Astros. The Twins fall 12-3 over the White Sox. And the Atlanta Braves, as mentioned, fall to the Cubs 4-3. Kansas City tries hard, but loses 5-1 to the Angels. The Red Sox smash the Guardians 11-7. The Nationals 5-2 victors over your Miami Marlins, and 6-5 victors Tampa Bay over the Seattle Mariners. Right now on the top of the 7, it is tied at 2 runs apiece. The Arizona Diamondbacks have tied the game up at 2 runs apiece. Heading into the 9th inning right now, we have the Giants leading 7-4, and it is a pretty close one, but the Padres are still down a run. It's 3-2 there in the last game. That's in the top of the 5th right now with 1 error to the Padres. And it looks like the bases just got loaded as Peralta is into the game. Wandy Peralta is into the game, and it is Emmanuel Rivera at the plate with the bases loaded and 2 outs in the top of the fifth inning. What will our final standings look like by the time this ball game is over and the other games are over? Well, we'll know, I'm sure, by tomorrow morning. But now, let's take a look at the National League standings for the National League wildcard race. The leaders, of course, are the Milwaukee Brewers at 85-54. They pick up a win against the Philadelphia Phillies, who are now 80-58. Still 5 games behind the Milwaukee Brewers in terms of league leaders. Their series continues tomorrow, and I believe it will wrap up tomorrow. The Pittsburgh Pirates are placing themselves against the top dogs of the National League West, and that is the 78-60 LA Dodgers, who did lose to the Pirates in this one. On the go right now, the Atlanta Braves are against the Chicago Cubs, who are 79-59 and currently holding just 4.5 games up on their wild card spot. The Atlanta Braves are 62-76, just 12.5 games out of the wild card race. They're trying to find their way in. Also, 1.5 games in on the second wild card spot, we have the 76 San Diego Padres. They're against Baltimore right now. That game, of course, headed to the top of the fifth inning. It is in the fifth inning, as we mentioned. The New York Mets are against the Detroit Tigers and currently now will stay at a record 75-64 and just 1 game behind the Padres and I believe a few games more against the Chicago Cubs, who have 79 wins so far compared to the 75 wins the New York Mets have. San Francisco Giants are against the Rockies, who are 39-99. They are basically out of it. They are 35.5 out of the wild card race and facing the San Francisco Giants. The Miami Marlins are facing the Washington Nationals. They are 55-83. The Marlins are 65-74, just 10 games out of the wild card race. The Nationals just 19.5 out of the wild card race. And the Pittsburgh Pirates are just 13 games out of the wild card race at 62-77 right now. They are in a series with the LA Dodgers. The Atlanta Braves 62-76. They are just 12.5 games out of the race for the National League wildcard spot. The Miami Marlins just 10 games out, 65-74, and 7 games out of this National League wildcard race is the 68-71 Arizona Diamondbacks, but they could be 6 games out of the wildcard race with a win over Texas, which would move them to by the end of the night. Speaking of 69-71, they would also actually be 6.5. So they would be tied with the Cardinals at 6.5 out of the wild card race. The Giants are 5.5 out of the wild card race right now, with 69-69 the record against the Rockies right now. And the Reds currently hold the 5 games out of the wild card spot with 7-69 wins. 70-69 wins. They did lose to the Blue Jays 12. And that's how the National League standings look right now in the wild card race. So yeah, pretty tough schedules up ahead. We are in the final month of that season. We are in the final month, ladies and gentlemen. And things don't get any easier as of right now. Take one final look at the scoreboards right now. We won't share our screen here, but we'll take one final look at the scoreboards here. Texas Rangers tied at 2, top of 7th. There is a challenge on the play in the top of the 9th inning between the Giants and the Colorado Rockies. I wonder what that challenge is. I'm sure we'll find out what the challenge was. A little time will tell for that one. That game is currently in the top of the 9th right now, 7-4 the score. Giants lead the Rockies. And if the Giants were to win, I know I keep saying 70th win of the season, which would mean they would go to 70-69 and there would be a 39-100 Colorado Rockies team in that game if the Rockies were to lose. In the bottom of the fifth right now, still plenty of action to see in Baltimore's Padres game. It's 5-2. And there could be a lot of action still to see in a tie 2-2 game, Rangers and the D-backs. That's in the top of the seventh with 2 runners on and 2 out. For the Texas Rangers, the 2 go-ahead runs are at the plate. I should say are on base. And I believe the winning run is at the plate. We're into the bottom of the ninth now for the Rockies and the Giants. So if you're tuning into those games, enjoy those ball games. We'll see you again for the Blue Jays and the Cincinnati Reds series finale as both teams win game 1 and now game 2. Game 1 and 2 are now in the books. What will we say about game 3? Who knows? Now, we are at the end of the show, but I do want to make note that there are some podcast things happening here in Sports for Beginners and on the ice and behind the benches. And one of those things is the New York Yankees and Blue Jays final series of 2025 regular season MLB will be the last recap we do here on the ice and behind the benches, but it won't be the last recap we do on Blue Jays game recap for Sports for Beginners. That's for you guys to figure out on Sports Beginners' Facebook page, because we could be doing, even though football season is here, we could be doing the Kansas City Royals and the Tampa Bay Rays 4-game series. It's up to you, the listeners of Sports for Beginners, to check out Sports for Beginners' Facebook page for the latest updates during the homestand, which in turn features the Baltimore Orioles and the Houston Astros as soon as we're done with the Yankees. So what's in store for you at Yankee Stadium when we take you there? Tune in to that game breakdown recap at the end of the Cincinnati Reds and the Toronto Blue Jays series finale. For now, let's eavesdrop on Cincinnati and Toronto and get ready for the series finale between the pitchers of Zach Littell and Shane Bieber. I believe it is Zach Littell and Shane Bieber on the hill for both the Blue Jays and the Cincinnati Reds. It is indeed Shane Bieber, and if we look here on the notes, it is indeed going to be Zach Littell. So that'll be a fun match to look at, but anything can change. My name is Thomas McGregor, and this has been Blue Jays Game Recap. Please call me Thomas on the ice and behind the benches and Sports for Beginners. Your attendance record coming out of Cincinnati, in which George Springer and the Blue Jays score 4 runs in the second and first inning of this ball game, is for the Blue Jays and the Cincinnati Reds. The attendance record is as follows: 20,769 fans in attendance for this one. Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. Tune in to us for the last game of the series, 6:40 p.m. Eastern, 5:40 p.m. Central, of course, 4:40 p.m. Mountain Time, and 3:40 p.m. Pacific, 12:40 Paris Time, AM, and of course, it is 11:40 London Time, PM. That does it for us. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Lights up, let's go for Blue Jays and Cincinnati Reds. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time. Thank you so much for listening to the On the Ice and Behind the Benches post-game show on the Sports for Beginners podcast feed. Remember, everybody on the Ice Behind the Benches, to join Thomas every Tuesday for weekly episodes of your favorite ice content, from the drop of the puck to hitting the showers. We thank you for joining us.